Where last we left our heroes, Nara the Drow Sorceress, Danir the Catman Wizard, and Wolfgang the Angelic Warlock, having escaped the Eldritch Void, discovered themselves in a Marmaria 30-some years after they had left for the Feywild. A war-torn land stricken with demons and draconoids, with the remaining bastion of humanity seemingly found in the city of Dragon's Rest. It is protected by the Kylum Diaboli, now under the leadership of Wolfgang's son Elliot Connolly, whom tested Wolfgang's claims of identity by subjecting him to the burning pyre of Bahamut's Last Light, a massive font of fire at the summit of Platinum Peak that provides limited protection to the city from the demons that lurk beyond the fire's light. The now rapidly aged Bahamut lended Wolfgang and Elliot what power and information he could, having little else to give but the life force he is currently burning through. He provided the location of any remaining god aura that he could detect with all of his senses, and gave Elliot a charge of his radiant light in the form of a sword. With information in hand, Elliot laid out his plans to storm the floating fortress of the demons, the former city of Mitternacht. But for his plan to succeed, he needs Wolfgang and his friends to find Solomon, the only god capable of rending the divine soul from another god. With one full day of respite to prepare for the journey, what steps will our heroes take to ensure their success? So, where we left off, most of you were just off getting a pint somewhere with various characters. Danir, you had summoned Chimby to go grab a pint. Wolfgang, you were off to grab a drink with Dimitri and your son. And Nara was currently studying the many various congruities of the fact that her mother's soul may or may not be directly attached to her magic.
And I stole a book.
Yeah. You didn't really steal it. I think Venariel gave this one to you. Let me scroll back up here. Soul Bonds, Buddies to the End by Froderick Whizzelbang.
Yes, I have that one. And
she pocketed another one when
I
Venario wasn't
pocketed
on.
another book.
Which
one was it? Book,
do you remember?
Detailing illusionary creatures.
Ah, I didn't give that one a proper title. Let's just call it My Imaginary Pony, Friendship Really Is Magic.
Oh my goodness, okay.
All right. So most of you have gone off to have a pint. Would there be anything else that you would do that evening before taking yourselves to find a place to rest?
I would want to gather as much information on Needhog and his followers as I could.
All right. Well, as stated with your previous interaction with your son, he has left you with a dossier of many of the creatures that you might encounter on your way. So, taking that dossier to heart, you would start scrubbing through any particular types of information that you're looking to glean specifically right now.
I would probably be looking for just general scope of his abilities, like weaknesses, stuff like that, if they even have that on record.
Of Needhog himself.
All right. Of either Needhog or his retinue.
All right.
And just generally what they're like.
Go ahead and give me investigation with advantage, if you would.
Investigation.
So you have the dossier in front of you.
Yes, and just as a note, I'd probably also be, once all my research is done, I'd probably also copy these into my own little monster book.
Sure. Especially if there are any new creatures that you are unfamiliar with.
Indeed. Investigation with advantage is going to be a 22.
Ooh.
Unsurprising to you, you find that a good chunk of his most powerful forces happen to be cavaliers that ride atop wyverns. Most of his forces happen to be red-scaled dragonborn. They believe this to have been caused by certain dragonborn defecting from the city and pledging their allegiance, taken on the tainted scale of the Red Drake himself. The wyverns are, as far as you're aware, fairly typical wyverns that you've already kind of discovered in your own book. You know, poisonous tails, angry demeanor,
Yikes.
and airborne.
Not great pets.
Yeah. But the
Dang
fact that
it.
his forces themselves are sentient, intelligent, and willing is kind of telling, in that Needhog himself is a very charismatic creature. Those he does not instill fear into, he often inspires in terms of just his raw power and demeanor. There is a decent amount of information in here on Needhog, probably provided by Asmo himself, in that sometimes Needhog tends to get lost in himself. He is very easy to placate so long as you play to his ego. So, should you find yourself up against him and you don't want to battle him, which there's a very heavily underlined phrase, do not battle him. Talking your way out by appeasing him is typically your best bet. Usually this will lead to some form of imprisonment and potential enslavement, but given proper circumstances, it is your best chance to survive. A direct encounter with the Red Dragon. It has the same kind of weaknesses that any of the other dragons have, be it, you know, not a lot. It can be killed, but that's only because you've seen other dragons get killed at this point. Unfortunately, he does not show himself, like, he does not leave the Kuldara unless properly provoked or properly motivated. He's also enticed by gifts. Of course, any anti-dragon weaponry would work out for you. You know, the dragon blade specifically, location unknown.
Fuck.
But he doesn't seem to have any particular elemental or specific magical weaknesses that are currently known of. There hasn't really been a force that has gone up against him that has provided enough of a challenge. There is on record a battle between him and another chromatic dragon, though. You do see that in the efforts to ensnare and entrap Tia, Therodok Firefang was able to complete his transformation into a dragon, and upon seeing that there was another challenging his superiority, Needhog tore that dragon to pieces.
Ah.
It did not work out very well for Therodok for very long, as he may have achieved his goal, but in doing so, infuriated one of the most powerful creatures that he could have infuriated. Beyond that, it does look like they have pseudo dragons that are used, something akin to like hunting dogs, patrolling the land around there. And of note, the one place that the dragon's fire will not touch, nor will any of the dragonborn go near, is the Hexwood.
Interesting. Possible fallback point.
At the very least, a nice staging point. That's the basic information that you come up with, unless there are any specific questions you would ask. A 22 is pretty high. You could glean a decent amount of information from that.
If he or his followers have any sort of like extrasensory perception, because with the brain they just encountered, another very powerful being, it sort of seemed to sense that they were there without special protections. So he wants to see if there's sort of any other way that Needhog could perceive them while they're in his territory.
It is stated that under his abilities, he can see through all illusion. He does seem to have true sight. Let me double check something here for you. He has true sight, blind sight, and dark vision. So he can sense anything within the general radius of him. Not as far as that brain could, as far as you can tell. But if you get close enough to him, no matter how dark the room is, no matter if you're invisible, no matter even if you're behind him, he will probably know that you're there.
Good to know.
You do know for a fact that he is immune to fire damage.
Probably.
Well, all right then.
Yeah. Denier, anything you'd be doing in the night after polishing off a few pints with Chimby before he made his merry way back to the overgrowth?
Denier would head back to the Academy for the Arcane Innate. He would do what research he can into the Arcane Innate and their transformation into demons. At the end of the night, he would pretty much settle himself down close to the dormitory area, and he would go into a dream state and attempt to sense any kind of ripples of sorcerers in danger, to attempt to discover more about this transformation, and if one is going on, to actively try to stop it.
All right. As you approach the academy, you and Chimby probably polished off a couple of pints, so go ahead and give me a Constitution save.
Okie doke. 19.
You're fine. You feel like a slight buzz about you, but nothing that would impede anything as far as you're aware. Just don't get behind the wheel of a wagon. As you approach the Academy for the Arcane Innate, you can see like a few lights in the windows as they kind of start to go out, people starting to settle in there. At the gates, there are a few more of those Templarian-dressed guards in their full runic armor, just standing vigilant. They noticed you as you approach.
Evening, lads.
Evening, sir. What business brings you this way?
I'm planning on studying more about what's been happening with the sorcerers. See if there's any way that I can stop it from happening.
Under whose authority?
Given that I'm one of the people that built the school, I was unaware that I had to ask permission to come and go.
They glance back and forth at each other. It's a little unprecedented. Do you have something to prove that?
When we did the school, did I put anything in there to prove that I did it, or?
I'm gonna go ahead and say that you probably could have. What would you have put there to kind of like leave your mark or let them know that you were a part of this?
If anything, it will probably be the rune work. If anything, unless like there's some kind of like a picture of Ramses or like a plaque with like signatures or something like that.
I'd say go ahead and give me an Arcana check.
All right. 28.
You tap your staff to the ground, and the runes all around the building begin to glow. An invocation noted of your specific inscribings on the outside of this building. They just kind of look around. And as the runes begin to fade around the building, the kind of thinner of the two guards looks back at you. Do that again. and the thicker one just kind of like nudges him. Like, all right, so you go on in, but if there's an ounce of trouble in there,
If there's trouble, I expect you two to be in there, and I'm going to be trying to stop it myself. Have a good one. Have a good one, gents. And
they step aside and let you in the building.
Daenerys walks past.
As you wander in, the halls are starting to darken. The magical cisterns, or not cisterns, the magical sconces on the walls are beginning to kind of dim their low green light, just basically giving the hallways enough light for you to see enough space between the sconces for you to travel down these hallways.
Mm-hmm. And I take it that my room is long since gone.
More than likely. As you're looking around this space, it's surprisingly less war-torn and ravaged than many parts of the city that you've seen, especially given the fact that you've come to understand that a lot of the occurrences of this incursion have erupted from here. But you're just guessing that is due to the school's various forms of magical protection against certain forms of damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back in the initial attack, the school was actually if memory serves right, the school was one of the better places that held up originally as well.
That is correct. It survived. It survived Needhog's flames, and stayed standing even past all of this. You do recall that when you, Ramses, Theradoc, and a few other members of the Wizelstein family came together to help construct this place, it was designed to basically survive an explosion from the inside should one of the students go nuclear.
Basically, pull a cold reach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. He's just happy that it's standing and that it's at least apparently been useful over the years.
Yeah. As you travel further in, is there a specific? You said you wanted to head towards the dormitory area, yeah?
Yeah, somewhat close to the dormitories, just so when he's in the trance, he could, he has that proximity thing. He has a proximity to the sorcerers, so that if it would give a better sense of when he tries to focus in the ripples, kind of like what happened whenever you first sent Garrick in trouble.
Mm-hmm. As you travel up the stairs back towards where the students slash sorcerers are sleeping, you travel over to the specific dormitory area. As you do, you see Abigail LaFleur coming out of the dormitories, and she clicks a key behind her to ensure that those doors stay closed for the night, breathes a small sigh, and notices you, and once again kind of takes a double take. The shock of seeing you the first time seems to have lessened, but it's still there.
He just gives a warm smile at her.
Pardon my demeanor from earlier.
I can imagine it'd be quite a shock to see us wandering in out of nowhere all of a sudden.
To say the least. I never forgot any of you. What you did for me, how... I've done my best to live by your example. To show courage in the face of all of this.
The fact this place is still here is a testament to that.
I like to think so.
You've done good over the years. I don't know everything that's happened, but kind of sense that standing around here, and hopefully I can figure out what's going on and maybe put a stop to it.
You said you used to suffer from nightmares, yes?
All the time. Absolutely every single night. For the longest time until I got rid of that little crystal that I was carrying around.
There's not a hide nor hair of one of those crystals here. Not that we've been able to find.
No, but I have seen where sometimes corruption can get to them through their dreams. I once went into a young dragonborn's mind and did battle with the beast from the inside. Think something similar might be going on here.
That's why you're here.
Dinir gives a couple nods. I plan on setting up somewhere nearby, and seeing if I can get a ping on any of them that are in trouble. Have you, from what I understand, the arcane innate only go through this change one time. If they, quote unquote, survive the change, it never happens again. Is that correct?
So long as they're able to fend off whatever torments them. Yes. Just one day they stop having their nightmares.
Did the same thing happen to you?
No. Perhaps I was too old. This all started maybe 5 to 10 years ago.
Are there any reoccurring themes with these nightmares?
I've only been able to gather bits and pieces. They tend not to remember much when they wake up. They remember blood. And a tree.
Dinir's eyes widen just a little bit. And almost a look of fear in his eyes. A look of recognition, and definitely fear, as he gives a nod. That is exactly what I was afraid of.
Does it mean something?
The white tree has been tormenting me my entire life. It's known as the Bleeding God. I'm sure that you've heard of it before from my tales.
Yes.
Its domain is an endless expanse of blood. There within it has creatures that wander the wastes. Horrible mutated creatures turned by its corruption. I've been working on fending it off for quite a while. It's the same thing that tried to get to that Dragonborn that I had to fight it off. I managed to set up a small barrier inside of the Dragonborn's mind to protect his inner psyche, so to say. Hopefully I might be able to do something similar, or at least spot this from happening.
So you might be able to save my children.
Dinir gives a nod. Or at least find a way to give them a fighting chance.
If there's anything I can do to help, please.
You're doing everything I need you to do right now, Abby. You're taking care of them. You're making sure that they have a place to come to. In a world that has been less than kind to these people, you're here to make it a little bit better. That's what we're all here to do. A little bit off topic. Have you heard from, since you left the Weasel, have you heard from Pip? Or from Tom or Lush since you've left?
I haven't heard anything from the old man. The boy did travel by once. He didn't... He's never been much for words. But he left me a map.
Oh?
Should I ever have need, I'm guessing it's where he's hidden out. And as you look at the map, the marker seems to detail a river, some hill lands, and a swamp. The exact space looks like it's very similar to the one that Wolfgang marked on your map.
Ah, I know that place. That's not too far from River Run. I believe Asmo used to be from there. So he's hiding out in that old swamp, huh?
In the hill lands near it, at least.
He might be a good lead to find Tom. We need to find the old man. Eventually, at least.
If anybody could, I'd bet it would be him.
Denier gives a nod. Sorry about, he gives a light tap to his cheek. Wolfgang got a little bit enthusiastic trying to get you back on your feet.
Oh. It's quite all right. I've been through much worse.
I can only imagine what you've been through.
I don't think I could imagine what you have.
Well, let me just put it to you like this. Have you ever seen a brain with legs?
No?
Don't go to the void if you can help it. Just stay in Dragon's Rest and everything will be good. Denier gets a little bit of a weirded out face when he starts talking about the brain with legs.
I'll keep that in mind.
But is there anything that, while I'm going to be in town for maybe a day, maybe two, before we've got some business to take care of, is there anything that I might be able to give you a hand with while I'm, getting ready to head back out?
What you said you're planning on doing now seems to be the best thing you could possibly do for my children here.
Daenerys nods. All right. Then all I'm going to need is just someplace where I can hunker down and enter my trance. Someplace where I can get to them quickly if I need to, but at the same time, if they turn I still have a chance to get out of my trance before they're, on top of me.
She reaches into her pocket and hands you the key to the dorm. You may set yourself up anywhere around here. You have my full trust and confidence.
Daenerys nods. Thank you, Abby. I'm going to see what I can do, but I don't know. I'm going to do my best for you. And he reaches out and gives her a little pat on the shoulder. And that same smile that he's always given her when he's trying to reassure her that everything's going to be okay, even when he's unsure himself.
Go ahead and give a persuasion with advantage.
Okay. Nat 20.
She blushes for what must be like the first time in decades as she smiles back and kind of rests her hand on your hand on her shoulder. You haven't let me down yet.
Hopefully that's a trend that I can keep doing.
She lets go of your hand, smiles.
He returns it, and after a couple moments, he will allow her to go about her evening, allow her to get her rest, and he will go on into the dorms. Take care of yourself. I'll let you know how things go tomorrow, Abby.
Be careful as she starts to head up the stairs. Before we get to Daenerys' dream ventures, Nara, what are you doing for the evening?
Well, because she was given a book that she's supposed to read, but she's excited about the one that she snatched, so she's gonna start looking through the My Imaginary Pony book first.
All right. Are you looking for any specific sorts of information, or just want to see all the funny animals that people have made illusions out of?
Kind of just like how it works. If she could mimic something like that.
Sure.
Or bend her shadow like that.
All right. As you look through many of the basics, you spend like a couple hours reading through like the introduction and some of the more poignant pieces, kind of skimming over anything that doesn't seem that important to you. Go ahead and give me a Arcana check.
Okie dokie. 17.
You figure that any sort of illusionary creature simply needs to be manifested inside of your conscious mind, to the point that basically the more well realized the creature is in your mind, the better the illusion will be. Now, trying to make your shadow take on the form of said creature is something that doesn't really apply to a lot of the stuff in this book, but you think some of that basic knowledge might cross over. Is there a specific shape you want your shadow to try to take?
Well, she wants to know if she can, whisper is one thing, but to be able to manipulate it, because she also has the tendrils and everything, she's wondering if she can kind of create illusionary shadow creatures of varying sizes. Kind of like puppet show it.
Let me take a look at your current allotment of spells that you have. Which will be... Don't mind, your page is probably going to change here.
Okay.
Because when I flip
Quick
through
things.
it... Yeah, okay, there we go. Da-da-da-da. You think that it would be quite possible that you might be able to spawn various creatures out of your shadow. Something that wouldn't necessarily take on the conscious function that Whisper does, but could potentially have their own little personalities, like little minions that you can summon out of your shadow. And you believe that given enough practice, you could probably control the exact shape they take. You have a very specific spell in here that would work very well for that, in fact.
I bet I do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. And if that doesn't take up all of my time, then she would also start poking through the other book that she's supposed to read.
Yeah, the one that's going to give you a bit more information on the type of magic that might be binding you together with the soul of your mother.
Mm-hmm.
For that, you can go ahead and give me an investigation with advantage.
Okay. Natural 2021.
Well, hot damn.
Hot diggity damn.
So, scrolling through the book, you're looking specifically for soul bonding magic that's very specific to your situation. This book is significantly better laid out than that one that you were reading about, like, soul
my
repositories.
God.
This guy actually seemed to have his shit together. He was incredibly well organized. He has a glossary in the back. He has a table of contents up front. Everything in here seems to be very meticulously categorized.
I've never been so excited for a glossary.
So as you're kind of glancing through, you're able to find something that seems very particular to your situation. Apparently in the past there have been known... some people would call them curses, some people would call them blessings, but in a moment of... basically a cataclysmic moment in somebody's life, something where, say, somebody died very close to somebody else, or, you know, there was like some great seething hatred between somebody who died at the hands of another. That person's soul could in some way, shape, or form be attached to another person. In this situation, you do find that there are a number of potentially... There are a number of like potential cases where if a mother or father died defending their child, that their soul might linger on, blessing the child with certain abilities. Now, in all of these situations, none of them have been so extreme as to have the actual parent's soul make itself manifest through the child's gifts. But you're guessing that there is something in your situation, something very specific to your situation, very, very probably due to your association with Solomon, that you are attached directly to this soul.
Wow. All right. That's but it doesn't give me in particular that it was necessarily defending? Like, I don't know the specifics. I just know that it's a thing that
it's
happened, and
yeah,
Solomon was definitely involved.
you don't know about your own specific situation, but one of the most common situations for something like this to happen would be if, say, you know, a powerful magician of some sort was defending their child to the death, and in their last breath, you know, very, very powerful ancient arcane magic allowed them to basically give their soul some form of guardianship over their child. But in your specific situation, in that you are dealing, like, your situation seems to deal almost directly with somebody who has the ability to manipulate
Souls.
the bonds of life and death. There's probably something more there.
Huh. So Solomon is he who must not be named? Okay. Feel like I should have picked a wizard now.
Sorcerer is much more appropriate for this specific type of magic.
Oh, absolutely it is. Just very...
You're a wizard, Nara.
Yeah, kind of. Okay.
Although by D&D standards, all wizards in Hogwarts are technically sorcerers because they're born with affinity. So...
Oh my god. Wow. All right. That's,
So yeah, you still know that the only way to get true 100% answers is to either find some way to communicate with the soul directly, or to simply get the answer out of Solomon.
Wow. Okay. I am as speechless as I think Nara would be. I mean, it makes sense. It's a logical step. But also, what the fuck, Solomon? Okay.
All right.
This would definitely be a night of reading it again, setting the book down, laying down, staring at the ceiling for a really long time. And then suddenly it's like a smash cut to daytime, eyes still open.
I will say, with that nat 20, there was something else that caught your eye in terms of soul bonding.
Oh?
It's a specific... the only reason it catches your eye is because it seemed directly related to something you had heard in the past related to Asmo from the large pig and the shaman from his tribe.
Yeah?
The story itself seems to indicate that there was a prophecy by a tribe of lizard folk that lived off in the swamps where 2 children would be born, their souls bonded, and so long as one of them remained anchored to the plane of mortality, the other could freely travel the realm of death.
Oh, fuck. Wait. So that means Deus is fucking around in the death world?
Well, unfortunately, it would seem, he might not have a body to return to, but his soul is still bonded to Asmo in some way, shape, or form.
Oh my god, he's gonna be so pissed. Oh, he's gonna be so pissed!
So long as this prophecy is real and not some hogwash, but that did catch your eye with that
Did
nat
you really
20.
just say hogwash?
Hogwash, yes. There is a fetid pig in the swamp.
Oh, wow. So if one dies, the other can freely roam.
So long as one survives, the other can freely roam and travel between the realms of life and death.
Travel
was
between the realms of life and death?
Yeah, gonna be a little hard without a mortal body, but you're guessing, given what you've heard, in that Asmo has actively killed the body of Deus, that while that spirit might be tied to him, it has nothing to return to.
Right. But he's still... But... Wait. Oh, God. So, wait. But you can inhabit other bodies as a soul, yeah?
So long as somebody allows you to or summons you to.
Oh my God.
There are many ways to harness souls. You learned that in your other book.
Yeah, I did, and I'm not real excited about it, if I'm honest. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Okay. I don't want to talk to Deus.
That was a really good nat 20.
Yeah, it was good timing. I'm so... Alright, I feel like it's payback for all of the times I had to deal with that Spectral Reliquaries book.
Yeah, you finally got a book written by a competent man. A good old Frodrick Whizzelbang. That guy knows how to write a book.
You know what? I feel like if I can get through Spectral Reliquaries, I can get through any book I want. I can read the Britannica. I can read encyclopedias for fun.
The Monstrous Book of Monsters might not enjoy you reading it, but...
You know what? I can read it, though.
Maybe, if it lets
We'll see
you.
who dies first.
Oh, fair enough. All right. With that, Denier, you settle yourself down. As you enter the dormitories, the space in here, you've walked into the male dormitory. There are a lot of bunks in here. The layout is, as you kind of look down, there are bunk beds kind of like stacked one on top of the other. There are curtains kind of strung throughout here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's just kind of like children closest to the door, adolescents closer to the center of the room. It is a large block area of people sleeping. Some of them are tossing and turning. Some of them are sleeping fairly calmly. Some of them are snoring. A few of them have like their blankets kind of pulled up over their head, and you can see like the dim lights of a cantrip, as they're probably just trying to read to themselves without disturbing anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Then Denier is going to find some place, off to the side where, he won't disturb anybody. He's going to settle down, and he's going to begin his ritual to trance out into the plane of dreams.
All right. You seat yourself down in a nice spot where you can get a good look at a number of the beds.
And it's still a tactically sound position where I have a chance to snap out of it if any of them turn. Since I'm probably going to be, first on the scene, first in combat.
Of course. I mean, battle maps exist for that reason. So I will shift you over here. That seems tactically sound. All right. You find a nice little out-of-the-way spot where you can still get a good glimpse of the room. You actually find yourself kind of sitting in an unoccupied bunk off in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
A nice space where you can get a good glimpse at a number of the people. You're close enough to the door that you would be able to get there first in case of anything. And being on the upper bunk, it would be significantly harder for something to get at you quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So you set yourself off and you start to trance out. As the world kind of begins to dim around you, you find yourself once again beginning to occupy the dreamscape, and all around you, all of the children that were sleeping, kind of in the same like relative physical space, you start to see these little blobs begin to emanate from the dream space, these little dream worlds that you can kind of get a little peek into. Some of them appear to be dreaming of a nice day out in the park. Some of them are dreaming of family that appear to no longer be in the picture. Some of them are having nightmares, but nothing that particularly catches your eye.
Is, for my own curiosity, is Phobos in any of them? Like, is he actively working on any of those dreams?
Go ahead and give me a perception check. We'll see.
That's 12.
As you begin to kind of float around the dreamscape, donning the guise of Somnium Vagus, you glance at some of the particular nightmares. As far as you can tell, it does not look as though Phobos is there, though you do know him to be a shapeshifter. There's a particular stern-looking kind of teacher form of Abigail administering a test to a child that did not seem prepared for it, that kind of gives you vibes that it might be something that Phobos would do, but not enough for you to like go in there and just like try to call him out.
Yeah.
You continue trying to just floating around the dreamscape. One child is having a particularly pleasant dream, kind of floating among the clouds that all look like little puffs of cotton candy. You actually kind of take a little dip in there and scoop some of the cotton candy for yourself, and sure enough, it's sweet and delicious. As you fly out of that dream, floating amongst the others, one of them does catch your eye. A very dark space. You hear the sound of whimpering and crying coming from it. But more than that, you hear the audible
If you were making sound, I heard nothing.
the audible slurping that you have heard throughout your nightmares is ruminating from a particularly dark dream.
Yeah, that dream now has Daenerys' attention, and he begins approaching.
Sure enough, as you approach this dream, you hear the wafting, or you hear like kind of the waiting of knee-deep blood, the slurping.
Yep, Daenerys going in. He prepares himself, he readies his defenses, and he's going in.
You ready up your defenses. You take on the guise of Somnium Vagus. And with a deep breath, you plunge yourself back into the nightmares that haunted you as a child. As soon as you find yourself in there, all of the memories of this place come rushing back to you. The slurping emanating from around you. You can hear the echoing cries, the whimpers of a child. And you hear whispers.
Since I know his language, do I understand what the whispers are?
As you begin to mentally translate, the whispering begins to take focus in your mind. You don't need to fight. Submit. Join the powerful. You never have to be alone again.
Do I know what direction the sound is coming from.
The whispers
whimpering.
the whispers seem to emanate from all directions. The whimpering, though, go ahead and give me a perception.
Come on, Denier. 19.
You can determine the direction of the whimpering, even though the space that you find yourself in has a kind of a tremendous echoing reverb. You are able to pinpoint the whimpering. You find at your best guess, 12-year-old half-elf male, or at least prepubescent half-elf male, kind of crouching, covering his ears and eyes. No. The whispers continue to ruminate around you, dispersing the same melodious message. One you're not sure that the child understands.
Denier approaches the child, slowly. It will be all right. You're not alone.
Give
I'm
me
here.
Give me a persuasion check.
Okay. Nat 1.
As he hears your voice, you appear to have gotten a little too close to him as he opens his eyes, sees the mask, sees the cloak, and immediately kind of splashes down on his ass and immediately falls beneath the blood.
Can I dive for him and try to pull him back out?
Give me an Arcana check.
23.
More than that, you part the waters themselves and raise an island for him to stand on. The child is covered from head to toe in Icarus red blood. And is still quite freaked out as this image, this cloak of stars, this mask floats before him. Please don't hurt me.
Denier shows his hands. He slowly reaches up and he pulls the mask away. I mean you no harm. I'm here on the behalf of Abigail.
What?
I'm here to help you.
You're telling me this is real?
This is just a dream.
But then
This is a place I've been myself. It's going to be okay. He motions into the circle around them. It's trying to convince you to join it. It wants you to become like them. He shakes his head slowly. I'm here to make sure you get out of this okay.
What's trying to convince me? And as you look down to the kid and then look back, the massive form of the white single-eyed tree sits behind him.
Something old. Denier makes sure to Denier puts himself between the kid and the tree.
As the kid tracks your movement, he notices the tree and begins to panic even more.
Denier holds a hand out towards him. I faced it before. I won't let it harm you. Denier looks up at the tree. You won't take this one. This one is mine. This one will grow up strong and become a powerful sorcerer.
Is that so?
And you hear the cracking of land behind you as roots begin to rise up to try to ensnare the child.
And I'm going to try to dome the child and put a wall of force around him.
Give me a Arcana check.
24.
As the roots come shooting towards the child out of the ground, this orb, this ball of light extends around him, and the branches shatter on impact. You now have the boy within a force field created from your own dream weave.
Denier waves his hand and the mask goes back on.
It has been some time, Denier. Good to see you found your way back.
What can I say? I spent a long time preparing for you.
Time. It has been a while since that's had any meaning.
Yes. I would imagine such one that claims itself to be eternal.
Oh. You have no idea what you have wrought.
Really now? What have I wrought?
Everything.
As more and more roots begin to shoot up out of the ground, shooting up towards you.
Denier is going to, as the roots are shooting up towards him, Denier is going to Misty Step on top of the dome.
All right.
Good.
As all of this is basically magic taking place within the dream scope, go ahead and give me another Arcana check as you are battling this thing's will.
26.
Once again, as the roots converge, they appear almost to pierce through the cloak of stars. But when they retract, you're standing on top of the ball.
Yes, it has been some time indeed. I had forgotten how enjoyable this little chase of ours is.
Denier looks around at the oceans of blood.
They're
Thoughts
beginning to rise and rise and rise.
And as it's rising, he and the boy inside of the dome are lifting as well. But he thinks about things that the Bleeding God has said in the past, and certain memories flash through his mind. The burning of Dark Launch, the disappearance of Birchwood, the peace talks, Ramses. But as these thoughts of things that he's tried to do good, but has always seemed to turn to ash in his mouth, courses through his mind, and the people that he's had that have been taken away. He stares up at it, almost resolute, and almost defiance in his eyes, as he just gives a little bit of a grin. Funny how we often make our own monsters.
Indeed. I create you, and you created me.
Can I insight that?
Go for it.
20.
You remember everything that's led up to this point. You remember everything Ramses has said to you. And you remember the last time you were in a dreamscape like this, and you saw him walking out of that tree. This consciousness, it might not be the man you knew. But in there, in every intention of this word, seems to come from that of Ramses Palto.
Denier's entire body language seems to shift. when he realizes that when the realization hits as he stares up at it.
I really have been meaning to thank you. When we got pulled into that white void, I thought we were dead. But it was so much more. The infinity offered so many possibilities. It allowed me to commune through time, through the crystals. To me, to you, to all they have touched. Time is nothing but a plaything for me now. And it's all because of you.
Those words almost seem to drive a proverbial sword through Denier.
So take this child, Denier. Take him. Protect as many as you can. There are so many out there. So many of my children. How many can you save? How many want your protection? Pleasant dreams. Somnium vagus.
And the tree begins to sink beneath the red waves, and you are left in a black void. Shapeless, formless. The child, meanwhile, is having a panic attack.
As the world seems to fade to darkness, the only thing filled in the void of darkness is just Denier's screams of rage, of despair, of fury, so many emotions at the same time.
That will be an unintended intimidation check with advantage.
Okay. Intimidation. 16.
The kid manages to just kind of cover his ears and go back to the previous method that was working for him in the blood pit. Luckily, you are not leaving him with many more mental scars than he already has.
Thankfully. But Denier will, after Denier's moment, he focuses and he attempts to pull the kid's dreams back into something more pleasant.
All right, go ahead and give me an Arcana check with advantage, as there is nothing fighting your will here.
26.
All right. You begin to pull from the child's subconscious any happy memories you could find, and you start to weave them into a wonderful little dreamscape that, as he is just kind of sitting, shallow breathing, covering his head with his arms and incredibly panic-stricken, you wander off, kind of float off into the distance, allowing him to take in everything around him. And you see him begin to calm down. And almost as if he seems to have forgotten the previous dream that he was just in, begins to take in the serene areas around him. Hey, Jovith, come play with us! Yeah, it's your turn! And he looks around, and he runs off to play in this serene field with other children. You let the child dream. You let him forget. And you feel like he's not going to be bothered anymore. As you leave behind the warding, the ball that you protected him with. And the dream fades and you go back to the dreamscape. And here's where we'll take a break. Hey guys, Lani here. I just wanted to thank you for rolling with us. And if you wanted to catch us live, you can do so almost every Monday at 5 o'clock Central Time over on twitch.tv/Lanipator. Now, back to the show. So Denier, as you drift around the dreaming, everything starts to kind of come clear in your mind. Everything that Red said about the second consciousness that had always plagued it. Every time you had been attacked in your dreams. Every time you felt like Ramses had manipulated you. It all just kind of sinks in around you as you float amongst the dreaming.
So many thoughts just flood Denir's mind. And as these thoughts continue to sink in, more thoughts become clearer. Everything that he'd done, every place that he'd gone to was because of everything that had happened. All the death, all the destruction, all the pain that he sought to keep the world safe from. All of it was because of him. Garrick becoming Needhog. Bahoum being hurt. Birchwood disappearing. Silverrock, the cannon. Everything was him. And he floats for a while. Thoughts cross his mind about how everything so far has turned to ash in his mouth. And the one person that he thought was in his corner, the one person that he thought he could be him with, turns out they were playing him like a fiddle the entire time. And he just drifts aimlessly for a little while. More thoughts crossing his mind over and over, almost replaying the history of his life.
You find yourself flying through your own memories.
Mm-hmm.
Literally crafting them around you.
As he flies through every one of these memories, he wonders where things could have gone different, how he could have changed it. Can he still change it? And everything that he comes to, every single thing that he thinks about, focuses, and as he drifts, the world around him shifts and changes to an ancient temple covered in moss, corpses covering the ground. And it all started with a single crystal, and he sits there staring at that crystal.
You see it sitting there as it had been. The two somewhat mummified bodies nearby. Each looks to have stabbed the other. Both reaching for the crystal. You see it kind of shimmer and shine.
He crosses his arms as he walks around it slowly, staring at it. Were you sitting there the entire time, waiting for me? And as he continues to walk around and think, he thinks about ways that he could try to stop it. And every single time, only one thought crosses his mind. And that is in the back of the Wizzlestein spellbook. He thinks, and for basically the entire time, he's in his own head. He's replaying these memories over and over and over. And he's realizing just how much wanting to save the world, he's doomed it. And he says nothing, but he just keeps on pacing around that crystal. His mind constantly spinning, knowing that if he stops, he's going to fall apart.
You ponder throughout the night. Wolfgang, Nara, you both awaken the next day. Wolfgang, both of you having gleaned fresh knowledge through the night. Wolfgang, you probably would have been put up pretty much anywhere you would have wanted, be it your old home or somewhere among the barracks in the Kylum.
Is Elliot living in the old house?
He doesn't seem to sleep much from what you've gathered.
Okay.
He's under a lot of pressure. But the old house itself does seem to have remained intact and is, while a little shabby, still lived in.
Yeah, Wolfgang probably would have slept there.
Nara, you, I'm guessing, would have stayed at the Wizzlestein Tower.
Yeah. She would have slept as much as necessary, but mainly focusing on reading those books, because that's a lot of reading to do.
You guys awaken in the morning and find your feet and eventually find your way back down into town, inevitably trying to find some food. Wolfgang, outside would have been some Kylum guards stationed. They salute you upon getting out. Nara, same for you as soon as you find your way out of the tower. And they would be willing to usher you to a place to find sustenance.
That sounds amenable to me.
I could eat, I guess.
They take you to the mess hall of the Kylum. Nothing too fancy in the morning. For officers, there are eggs, which you are allowed to partake. Squeezed juices, oatmeal. Standard rationed fare, given that there's not a lot of operable farmland right now, especially with the sun the way it is. The sky does not burn quite as bright as, you look up and you see that same kind of pink-hued Cheerio rather than the sun that you're used to.
Is there much in the way of meat on the table?
The majority of protein appears to be that of the eggs. It seems they reserve the meat for particular occasions. In the case of the feast last night.
Nara's face crinkles up a little bit. She kind of pokes at the eggs. Not super excited about it, but also not very good at hiding her disdain.
Elliot comes kind of strolling out. bag still kind of under his eyes. Looks like he slept in his office for the night.
Morning.
Morning, son.
Dad.
Morning.
Morning, Nara. He
He was
sets himself down at the table that you're sitting at. Bowl of oatmeal and some eggs.
Did you sleep at all,
I slept enough.
Elliot?
I promise I'll get proper rest tonight. There's just a lot to plan for tomorrow.
You'd better. Or you're grounded.
I'll keep that in mind.
I mean it,
Starts shoveling eggs into his mouth. And he pauses, noting your concern.
I know. It's just been a long time coming. And
Yeah.
for the first time in a long while, it feels like we can win, you know. I just want to make sure it goes perfectly.
I feel that. But
Get any good
overthinking.
information out of that dossier of ours?
As a matter of fact, I did. Found out quite a bit about his retinue. Nara, I apologize. We're going to be fighting more wyverns, apparently.
Oh, I only really cared about the one. Unless you think I can have one of these as a pet.
He sort of shakes his head quickly.
Elliot kind of chuckles a little.
If you can find a way to tame it out from under the red worm, you're like, feel free to have one.
She pets Lil Ass's head. And is like,
Yes, good.
Just kind of nuzzles you. There's a bit of commotion coming from the entrance. You hear some guards trying to settle what sounds like a middle-aged woman. As you glance
Sort of.
over, you see you see Abigail Lafleur, who looks around and then locks eyes with you. Just out of my way. Something went wrong. He hasn't gotten up yet. He's just sitting there.
wait,
Demir.
who?
Denier.
Nara
He's lost in the dream again.
immediately bolts up and runs off.
Abigail keeps up with you. As you're standing up to like run off, Lil Ass is trying to like scarf at your plate. It kind of whines a little as you
No.
get up.
Nara sees that and just picks up the plate and runs with it, like holding it so Lil Ass can eat, but also running while holding
Yeah, Lil Ass is going
a
ham
plate
on
of
those.
eggs.
Yeah, Lil Ass is going ham on those eggs.
So where is he?
This
I
way,
look
he's-
at- I look over at Elliot and I nod to him. Would be back.
Right.
And you begin to hustle your way over to the School for the Arcane Innate, where Abigail ushers you up to the dormitory. There's a small, there's a gathering of students around a bunk where you see Denier just kind of sitting in kind of like a meditative pose, his ears twitching every now and again, his facial muscles twitching every now and again. I have tried to wake him, but he's just sitting there like that.
Detect magic.
Sure enough, he is in the midst of a spell. One of his own craft. Does not seem to be malicious, but he has not broken the spell on himself. But there's nobody else around here sleeping that he could be in the dream of, so he must be in his own.
So more of his dream magic. I wonder. Does Do I see Daenerys' belongings anywhere, like a backpack or a pouch or something?
He has his things on him, just kind of like set at the foot of the bed.
I'm gonna try to find that void metal mask he has.
Simple enough to find. It has a very particular shape.
All right, I'm gonna put it on him. I'm gonna put on my own void metal halo, and I'm gonna try to speak
Nara
into
sees what's
Daenerys'
happening and
mind.
immediately puts on hers.
All right, you focus your mental energies, and what do you yell out to Daenerys?
Daenerys, are you all right?
Daenerys, as you stand around, just keep pacing around the gem, you hear Wolfgang's voice echoing all around you.
Daenerys, are you all right? Right?
He glances up, looking at it. What you get back is flashes. From the time that Wolfgang, you and Nara begin to get flashes. You see flashes of Daenerys talking to Tia, telling her how you guys got to the north. Then a moment later, you hear tale of Gibling talking about how Dark Launch was destroyed by the Empire of Flame. You see flashes of birchwood in the graveyard, and then suddenly the town is silent. And one by one, you see what looks like flashes of the darkest moments of Daenerys' life.
You see the highlight reel of Daenerys' regrets.
Everything. Though something does pique, something does catch your attention, and if you don't mind, Connor and Caitlin, roll an insight check real quick for me, if you don't mind. I'd say
Ooh.
DC 18.
I'll allow this.
Alright.
Okay. 16.
16? Oh, wait.
Insight.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose Caitlin?
Her
Oh, there we go. She rolled a 10, so neither of them broke that particular.
Okay. Wolfgang, a lot of this regret and this focus seems to be revolving around Ramses. The moments that they spent together, the moments that we're working on the gym and training and everything like that.
That's weird. Oh, there it goes. 10.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Now, so you two then would see flashes of what happened last night, of Somni and Vagu standing before the Bleeding God and they're back and forth. And then you see the revelation that Ramses Palto is the Bleeding God. And so Wolfgang, you can you sense that right now Daenerys is in his own head, because basically from the emergence of Nidhogg, the destruction of Dragon's Rest, basically he is putting everything that has happened on his own head. And basically you're getting his worst moments highlight reel. But you're still hearing Daenerys' own mutterance. Wish has to do it. Somehow I have to stop it. Even if I have to destroy both of us.
We hear that?
You hear Daenerys saying that. Flashes of paradoxes and time manipulation and flashes of conversation with Tom, and it's weird bits and pieces. Wolfgang, you're able to piece more of it than Nara is, just because of your relationship with Denier and your idea of how Denier's mind works.
Also, having been there for some of these events.
Mm-hmm.
With this big combination of things, would I know that you're not under any sort of influence other than your own?
You could glean that from your detect magic.
Okay.
There did not appear to be any sort of outside magic affecting him. This is all on him, but he has trapped himself, and he's been in there for a hot minute.
And as he sits there in that dream, this smile begins to creep across his face. Not the normal Denier warm smile. This almost manic Cheshire-like smile. As after a few moments, his eyes slowly open. Didn't think you'd come looking for me, Wolfgang.
Your bloody ally. Of course I would. What the hell was all that?
Been in my head for a little bit.
Hey.
Got a little bit of a clearer perspective, so to say.
Mind explaining what any of that was?
What'd you see?
Highlight reel of bad shit that happened to you.
Then you know. Everything that's gone wrong here has been us.
You hear a voice yell, "That's not true!" And you see Abigail standing there, this look of worry on her face, and now this kind of like flustered look.
He glances over towards Abigail. I saved the boy. But he told me things. He challenged me to save the others.
And I have little doubt that you will.
I have a plan to stop him. It's going to take time. But I'm going to stop him.
With the void halo still on, I mutter into his brain. You mean that nonsense about you taking it out with you?
Back in his mind, you create your own monsters, Wolfgang. Sometimes, to save the world, you've got to, what's the phrase? Be willing to do what's best for the greater good. He looks over at Wolfgang. And as he stares at Wolfgang, Wolfgang's own words echo through his mind. Talking about how he wants to make the world a better place so that his son doesn't have to grow up to be a monster hunter. And those words echo in the back of his mind over and over and over. And then it shifts to Ramses' voice. Over and over and over. as he slowly stands up. We find Tom. We get Solomon on our side. We find Tom. And we put a stop to all this. And after all this is said and done, I'll make sure this world isn't hurt by the likes of us anymore.
By the likes of us.
Again, there's a memory of an image of Daenerys and Ramses standing together, talking to each other. Yeah.
Both of you, after he says that, of the likes of us, start seeing, from what seems like Nara's perspective, a lot of murders. Like families, children, monsters, the people she's conned. She just immediately takes the circlet off in the middle of it and puts it down.
And then the images of the murders stop.
Yep.
Daenerys, you feel building rage coming from Wolfgang. He steps up to you.
He looks over with that still Cheshire grin.
I grab him by the scruff and I punch him in the nose.
Go ahead and roll to hit.
With advantage.
Guess this will just be a strength check. I'm not proficient in unarmed strikes. Natural 20.
All right.
Oh my god.
So with your full strength, I think it's a 1d2 plus your strength.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
6 damage.
So 8 damage.
You crack Daenerys in the face so hard, he tumbles across the bed and is laying face down on the floor.
Yeah, you basically like walk up, you grab him, and poof, deck him across the face. He falls off the top bunk. Let's see, that's technically a 10-foot fall, so an additional 4 points of gravity damage as you hit the floor.
Once he hits the floor, I storm over to him and grab him by the collar again, and I have the belt of strength, so I lift him back up to his feet and I pull him close to my face. Listen to yourself! You think you're bloody omnipotent? We may be the only mortals in history who have experienced what we've been through. And you think you can know the outcome of everything? You think this is all your fault? That's bloody arrogant of you, Daenerys. And it's not you. Yeah. We're gonna try to save the world. Because that's what we do. To think that this is all monsters of our own making is bloody arrogant. You're not a god. And you don't have to be one.
Yes, I do. I have to stop him.
And we will. But putting all this burden on yourself is doing nobody any favors.
Everything. Look at everything that we've done. Everything that we've done has turned to ash in our mouths, Wolfgang.
Bullshit!
Every town we come across.
Abigail yells. If it weren't for you, I'd be in a cage. Or dead. You
And
saved my life.
You're the one good thing I've done with my life.
How many others have you saved? How many others like me?
And how many others are in the ground because of me?
Listen to yourself. You're putting all this blame on yourself for no reason. You're giving him exactly what he wants. He's been trying to get into your head your entire life. And now you're gonna bloody let him?
Because I know what he is. I know who he is. And I know what made him that way, Wolfgang.
And it's not your fault!
Yes, it is! I'm the one that held him there! I'm the one that stopped him! I'm the one that couldn't stop him from getting those damn crystals! I'm the reason why Nidhogg is there! Bahum got hurt because I was weak!
You're not weak. But you're not omnipotent either. You are only hurting yourself by believing these lies. Denier destroyed the bloody world because of his actions or his inactions. What a crock. The world can get thrown to hell because of some catman.
Look at the sun and say that again, Wolfgang.
That's not your bloody fault.
We left that cannon there. We didn't destroy it when we had the chance. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to find a way to stop all of it from happening.
Of course we are, Denier. Of course we are. We're all going to do it together.
That
You may
smile.
think you have to put the weight of the world, the weight of all these people on your shoulders, but you don't.
The
You
crowd
have
kind of
us.
looks amongst themselves as you're saying this.
And we're no weaklings either. Think of all the things we've accomplished. We didn't have to be gods to achieve. We've done things nobody in history has accomplished.
That manic smile slowly fades. And he just looks at the ground.
I sort of set him back down on the floor, let go of his collar. I cast prestidigitation on him to clean up any blood that might be running from his nose.
Denier says nothing. But he simply nods.
You and me. We've been through so much together. Don't forget who you are, Denier. Don't think you have to become someone else. don't think you have to sacrifice yourself for mistakes you didn't know you made. Mistakes that are barely even yours.
And I grab the back of his head and I pull him into my chest.
Denier says nothing, but he hugs Wolfgang. Probably tighter than even in Bordeaux. And he says nothing.
Abigail begins to usher the crowd of young boys out of the room. Come along. It's time for class.
You're probably hungry.
Your stomach grumbles.
He nods a couple times. Yeah.
Let's get you some food.
Yeah.
I pat the back of his head.
He's going to follow after them. Quiet, somber, but he follows.
As he walks past Nara, she'll, like, tug on the back of his robe.
Slow look over.
You can't change what happened in the past. What you didn't mean to do or didn't know you were doing. You can only do your best with what you know now. Because if it's all your fault, then it's mine too, right? But now we know how to fix it. So Wolfgang is right. We can fix it together.
Yeah. Let's fix it. Let's get what we need, and then we can try to fix it. All of it.
Wolfgang looks back briefly. His eyes are hidden by the brim of his hat, but a small smile crosses his face.
Now, they only have eggs, so it sucks, but you should eat.
You know, I could help that at least taste like meat.
Have you been hiding this the entire time, Wolfgang?
It's a secret. You learn on the road. Prestidigitation is a powerful spell.
Are you
Ain't that
fucking
right?
kidding me?
And you begin to slowly wander your way out of the School for the Arcane Innate. You guys eat, go back and continue your breakfast, and for Denier, actually eat breakfast at the mess hall of the Kylum Diaboli.
I'll cast Prestidigitation on Nara's eggs to make them taste like meat.
Go ahead and give me an arcane check.
Arcane
With advantage.
check, eh?
It's a fairly simple.
20.
Surely enough, the eggs taste like juicy meat. Oh my god! Oh, Wolfgang, what the fuck? Why are you keeping this from me?
Little
I figured
ass
you
is
knew.
trying to little ass is trying to scarf some too.
She, like, takes a handful of eggs from Wolfgang's plate and gives it to Lil Ass.
Handle animal with advantage. You have a hungry little Chronosaur.
That's fair.
I
Where is
I
my
look over
handle?
at Elliot.
Oh, there it is.
If he's still there.
15.
You can feel his teeth kind of like graze your hand, but you don't get any like actual like pinches or bites from it.
Which is good because she's just dead glaring at Wolfgang that he never used this before.
I look over at Elliot if he's still there, and I just say, "This is what you have to look forward to when you got kids."
He is in fact not, but Dimitri is there.
Shit.
Well, Dimitri
Oh, look at
hears
him.
it.
This is
You
what you'll
get-
have to look forward to when you have kids.
I'll keep that in mind. Oh. So you finish up your breakfast, and what would be on your agenda for this, your day of preparation before the march?
Ooh, boy.
Well, first things first, I suppose. Dimitri, Elliot, Denier, Nara, and why the hell not the mother of my grandchild? Get
Scenario.
what is it? Dun, dun, dun. Equal to my warlock level plus my charisma modifier. No, half my warlock level plus my charisma modifier. So 11 temporary hit points.
11 HP. I will mark that
Nice.
down for them.
And I will get 17 temporary hit points.
Well, la-di-da. All right. Everybody has their temporary hit points, feel like they're wreathed by a holy shield. So what would each of you do with your day?
Denir's probably going to resupply. With whatever supplies that the Diabolite can, part with, since they're going on the mission.
You can find, all right, you'll find your way over to the kind of quartermaster's area.
Yeah, he's going to pick up whatever he can, and he's looking for new spells. New spells and, inks and things like that.
Okay. Wolfgang,
can
what would
pick
you
up.
be doing with your day?
What I would be doing, I would probably be. I would probably be. Wait. Come back to me. I'll let you know.
Sure thing. Nara, what would you be doing to...
Nara would actually spend a little bit of time reading Denir's journals, more seriously now, and then practicing with her whatever she did at the Arcane Innate, the school before. Not the Arcane Innate.
Arcanos' Academy?
Yes, that one. Sorry.
No worries.
Forget the name of it. But she would be trying to connect to whatever that was so she can, because she found Solomon very easily last time, so she's wondering if she can do it again.
Okay. You keep trying to find a way to kind of drift your own soul away from your own body in a way that to you feels safe, which is kind of counterintuitive. You have a lot of emotional baggage with that particular feeling, so it's a lot to try to work your way through. So go ahead and give me a wisdom check.
Wisdom check. 16.
All right, you feel yourself kind of like trying to muster yourself up to like try to do this magic, but you feel like it's still going to be a little bit before you actually feel comfortable really separating your own soul from your own body on like by your own will.
Okay. Okay.
Essentially, you're going to be working towards a threshold to get this particular form of meditation.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So she will try it, sit in that moment, in that quiet, focus on the breathing, see how things feel, and just try and get in the flow of that and see if there's anything she can actually tangibly contact with it.
Okay. As you sit and meditate and try to focus on your own powers and magics, Denier, you make your way over to the quartermaster's place, and you actually find well, you hear some voices as you come in. There's nobody at the front desk, but you do hear some people talking kind of in a back room. You hear the sound of tinkering and ratcheting. You hear the voice of Elliot Connolly talking to the gnomish voice, a familiar gnomish voice. The gnomish voice is like the first thing you hear as you come in. I told you it'll work just fine. Shh. Shh. You're still a damn madman for trying this, though. It's the only damn way. Gotta make it better tomorrow. Too many things count on it.
Daenerys simply leans against a counter or what have you. He's letting Tim redo his thing for now.
You glance around. You see a few familiar things in this particular quartermaster shop. Some things that you remember from Talos and Timry's back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Which to you doesn't feel like all that long ago, but to this world was clearly a good long while ago. They still have a few magic scrolls kind of bandied about, a few magical items divvied here and there, and of course potions and spell supplies. Anything you might need to like replenish particular, like just generic spell supplies is very easy for you to stock up on. Is there anything in particular you'd be looking for?
Mostly it's one of those things where he'd be wanting to offload some of the random pieces that he's picked up, like say for example the T-Rex teeth, the shards of the flail snail. I know that I got rid of the fluid and that. I do believe that the lantern is going to be rather interesting for Timry to take a look at. But basically, he's looking for some new spells, and he's looking for ink and general spell components. Any kind of new spell that he might be able to get his hands on, because given that it's been 30 years, probably some new spells have been made since he's been here.
Given the state of the world, you kind of wonder about that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
There probably hasn't been a lot of time for specific advancements when the entire race has been fighting for survival.
Fair enough.
But, is there any particular spell, like any particular type of spell that you're looking for? Because I can just flip through a book, but
yeah, I do believe that I gave you a list a while back.
probably, but it would take me a while to find said list.
Some specific spells that might be good. Something that could help with traveling through the desert. Like, say, for example, something that could get, like, ward off, like, heat exhaustion for, like, a period of time. Catnap would be a good one. Rope trick would be a good one.
If you're looking specifically for things that'll help you travel through the desert, go ahead and give me an investigation check.
Okay. Let me pull up the... that's a 20.
You find the preparations for the spell Fly, for the spell Create Water. You already have what is it, like resist or absorb energy? So
I have absorb elements. Yes.
Yeah, absorb elements.
I'm taking a look through my list. Does he have Nerul's Mystic Aura? It is a 2nd level spell.
What does said spell do?
It allows you to either make a fake aura of magic around something, or it lets you conceal the magic aura around something. And if you cast it long enough on an item, it permanently looks that way. So, like, say for example, with that spell, I could like make myself look completely non-magical.
I'll say for the sake. I'll say with your roll. Yeah, he has the makings for that spell.
Okay.
You'd still have to scribe it into your own book and prepare it, but
of course. Let's see. Necromancy is illegal here, so he wouldn't have like a life transference. Does he have a catnap or rope trick?
Does not look like he has catnap. It does look like he has rope trick.
Okay. And what about polymorph?
Yeah, he has polymorph.
Okay. How much would those fly, mystic aura, rope trick, and polymorph run him?
You probably have to ask him. Or
okay, fair enough.
Ask Timry.
You
you haven't made your presence known yet. They're still just kind of talking in the back room.
Does he have, and just curious, does he have dragon's breath?
Does not seem to.
Okay. I'm just looking over the spells that Denier would be looking for. I doubt that he'd have anything over 5th. What about Unseen Servant?
Yeah, he has actually scrolls for that.
Okay, cool.
Elliot actually walks out from behind the curtain. Look, just make sure it's done by the evening. He notices you. Oh, there's quite a stir about you this morning. How are you feeling?
A little bit better. Let's just say I got some bad news, and news that I wasn't expecting. And it made I had a little bit of a bad reaction to it, let's just say.
Well, you're on your feet, so any day you stand, still a good day, right?
Absolutely. Good to hear that Timry's still up and about.
Indispensable he is.
Absolutely.
Makes a lot of things around here possible. Hey, Timry. Got an old friend out here.
You hear the sound of tools being set down. And around the corner, you see the gnomish head. He looks like he's aged, I mean, gnomes age slower, but even, like, if he were like a normal human, it looks like he aged 20 years since you've seen him.
I'll be damned. So the rumors were true.
Yep. Oh boy, have we been all over the place.
I could only imagine. I wish Talos were here to see you.
He gives a little bit of a nod.
He looks over to Elliot.
It'll be done by this evening. I'll run it by.
Be sure that you do.
I got more preparations to take care of. Don't need you slowing me down, old man. Fuck you, you kids.
And Elliot kind of gives you a nod as he leaves, Denier.
He nods back.
Take care.
You too.
And leaves the room. Leaves the quartermaster's office.
So, what can I do you for? I hear you're heading westward.
Yep. Kylem's giving us a mission, so I wanted to... You know me, I'm the type that I like to prepare way ahead of time before anything like that. I've also got something that might tickle your fancy.
He seems actually kind of distracted, and then he looks back up to you. Oh, yeah.
Daenerys reaches into his bag and he pulls out the lantern, setting it onto the desk in front of him.
And this is the Feywild lantern, right?
Yep, the one with
white,
a refined
the
mithril.
white metal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is a fine material.
From what I understand, it's something that's refined from mithril itself.
Seems to be much more attuned to enchantment.
Daenerys gives a nod.
Where did you find something like this?
There was... Have you ever heard of a gnome by the name of Grobthar?
Grabthar. Can't say that I have.
He's a traveler of the Overgrowth. Says that he's one of the only people that have seen Arcanos in person. Turns out, he worked in the city Lone O'Throned, which was at one time a large elven, mostly elven. There was, from what I understand, quite a few gnomes there. And they made all kinds of magical objects. He motions to his jacket, this being one of them. And that being one of them.
Well,
Don't know how, but they somehow managed to refine mithril into something even lighter and more sturdy. They had entire suits of armor made out of them, and he gives a minor image of the suits of armor that Lone Throne would wear.
quite impressive. If I had enough of the material, I might be able to craft something like that myself, though. I'm guessing you're not exactly swimming in the stuff.
That's the only one I got. I figure that either you or Hackless would make most use out of it, and, well, Hackless is indisposed at the moment.
That boy.
Apparently he's gotten himself captured or something like that somewhere.
Oh, he got himself captured, all right. Trying to serve the greater good, that bleeding idiot.
You know where he is?
Is that Needhog's camp?
Kind of expected it.
It's one of the ways we actually get information from the old bugger.
Interesting.
Can't exactly have emissaries running messages up and down, so having somebody at the source to send information was the only way. Daft fool, all but volunteered for it.
Oh, I get it. So he's kind of like a relay point. The information gets brought to him, and then the information is transmitted through him, right?
That seems to be the way of things.
Interesting. Daenerys gives a... Daenerys doesn't know in-game that Asmo is with Nidhogg, because he hasn't been a part of those conversations, correct?
I think you would have been filled in on that by now.
Okay.
I feel like you guys might have had a conversation where that pertinent bit of information came up.
Probably. So, I'm looking to get everything prepared. You know, get some rations, maybe get some extra water skins, prepare some spells, inks, things like that.
Well,
I've still got some coin, if it'll be useful, and I've got this here for trade, along with some interesting things that you might be able to do something with. And I pull out the T-Rex, one of the T-Rex fangs. This right here came from a great beast in the Overgrowth. Reckon it might be able to make an interesting dagger.
He holds out his hands, and like when you set the tooth down in them, he kind of has to like cradle one end, kind of like the root of the tooth in one hand, and like hold the shaft of the tooth by the other hand. It's pretty big in a gnome's hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Probably pretty easily. Oh.
What's more, I took the entire head of the beast. It's being stored right now, but I can easily acquire it and get it if you need it.
Ah. I'm not sure what I'd be able to do with it in the time that you'd have with me, but...
Well, even if it's, not while I'm with you, it still might be something to help the rest of the camp and help the Kylum.
If you wouldn't mind leaving it by, I'd probably be able to find some uses for it, though. My time's occupied at the moment. Got a particular project I'm working on.
And worst case scenario can always go on display in the Kylum.
True enough, I suppose.
And Denier will go ahead and look over and show the scrolls. So I'm thinking about these particular scrolls and spell preparations. I was wondering what you'd want for them, along with any potions that you might have in store that you can part with.
Boy, you were our best customer before everything went to hell. Honestly, it's just nice to have you back.
He looks at the pile of stuff that you've allotted there.
50 gold.
For you, Denier hands him a platinum.
Good.
Hey,
Talos would have kicked my ass for anything less.
He smiles.
He pulls out the divination book. He showed me. He gave me this. Taught me how to scry. Wish I could tell him that I appreciate it, but
Me too. Me too.
we're gonna do what we can. Try to set everything right.
You can see another kind of like far off look in his eye as you say that.
I imagine you will.
Have you heard anything from T-Wig since we disappeared?
It's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Last I heard, they were heading north after Nidhogg.
They were there for a while. Then, I don't know, one day I heard just sort of left. Not sure to where. Never came back here.
Dinner gives a nod. Right. I appreciate all the help. I know that you've got other things to do, so I'm not going to bother you much longer. Just, it's good seeing you again.
It's good seeing you too.
And he holds out his hand. You notice that his hand is clasped in a kind of a leaden glove.
Denier reaches out to shake it.
He shakes your hand.
So just a general above game. He's gotten the scrolls, ink. Did he have any potions, or were the potions gone?
Let's see, how many potions would they have available to...
Probably not a lot, since
Yeah, not incredibly, given the need to craft them. You could probably get out of there with 4 healing potions.
Okay. I'll pick them up along with various rations, just general day-to-day kind of stuff.
All right. Wolfgang, did you figure out what you wanted to do with your day?
I believe so. I wanted to ask around and see what became of the goblins near the Hexwood.
Let's see. You'd probably have to ask some of the Kylum Rangers that would actually have traveled in that area. Not many people go that deep into the desolation. The fact that... Actually, yeah, you know what? Go ahead and give me an investigation with advantage.
Investigation with advantage. A 14.
You scroll through the book, specifically at parts that mention the Hexwood, to try to find names that are on said reports. Unfortunately, they aren't names that you recognize, and you do have a little bit of trouble finding the actual people that wrote the reports that might have actually scouted toward the Hexwood near Fallwood Barrow. But you do gather information by the ways of that it does seem that there is a tribe of goblins that act as a form of defense there, though a majority of the defense seems to be through druidic magic. Very much the land seems to protect itself around there. But there have been sightings of goblins in that area. So there are still existing goblins up there. It takes you a good long while to find this information as you're like kind of bouncing from person to person, trying to get a credible source. But eventually you find a companion of somebody that works with those rangers. And they tell you pretty much everything that they've heard. It's secondhand information, but it's the best you were able to get. Evening
Alrighty then.
Yeah, evening rolls around, and it's time for basically the last supper before the march. Another massive feast is prepared. Nara, you're actually very happy to see that there are, full flanks of roasted beast this time around. Little Ass's mouth just salivates at it.
Oh yeah, she'll keep him on his leash, but still throw him plenty of meat.
Before the meal, you see Wolfgang. You actually see Timry talking to your son and handing him a satchel. She has to be very... And he it catches your eye. Again, he looks like he has aged a lot. Like way more than a gnome should have in this time. And he almost kind of tries to avoid your eye. But he gives you a smile and a nod. And kind of like a half wave.
I smile at him. Detect magic.
Detect magic activates. That satchel is magical. There is something magical in that satchel.
Any specific school or?
Seems to be evocation.
All right. I'll stop the effect and I'll just nod and smile at him.
And he kind of glances around the room and goes to... he doesn't even stay to eat. He tries to find his way out of there. Just this very sheepish look on his face as he does so.
I'll sidle up over to Elliot.
He's currently talking to Dimitri.
Well, I guess it'll all be telling by the end then, eh, boss?
And Dimitri kind of nods towards you as you get closer. Elliot tucks the satchel under his arm and looks over.
Father?
Son.
This was everything we could muster for the ongoing events. We'll be on our way tomorrow.
Suppose we'll split off once we get to River Run, then?
Probably by the time we hit Amberglade, we'll know.
Hmm.
We're not gonna leave you right at the entrance of the desolation. That'd be very rude of us. We'll at least walk you across the threshold. Right, Dimitri? Aye, that we will. Of course, from there, suppose we'll be heading a bit further north than you. Following the river would probably be your best bet to make it, but I feel like you know those lands a bit better, even if they were a bit more green in your day.
Yeah. More well-traveled up there, though. In terms of what it's like now, I couldn't say.
Really interested in walking the ruins of that old town with you.
Hmm.
You raised me there, right?
I brought you up in your formative years before we moved to Dragon's Rest.
I read about the place. Only ever seen it as it is now. But hey, between your crew and me and 8 of the Kylem's finest, I'm sure we'll be fine.
Insight.
Go for it.
21.
21. There's something he's clearly trying to hide. Something kind of lingering in the back of his words.
So, what is your plan exactly?
Well, we're gonna find our way to their little floating fortress. Sneak our way in there. A small team will cause a distraction, allowing another team to get in there and break the Archmage free. Hopefully he'll have it in him to teleport the rest of us the fuck out of there. Mission complete.
I'll let your current insight roll on that. That's not the full plan.
Really? Just hope he's got enough juice to teleport you.
It's a bit of a gamble, but maybe the best we've got at this point.
Demetrius is going to incite you for your interrogation.
Okay.
You see Elliot kind of lock eyes with Demetrius and then look back.
Alright, fine, we're gonna blow the place the fuck up.
I'm assuming that's what... Timry just passed you.
It's experimental, but it should cause quite a bit of damage. They say you were the ones that found the damn thing.
Found it.
Aye. The green rock.
Wait.
Oh shit.
Green rock?
That's a...
Fumadin's rock.
Mm-hmm. Apparently it was a cause of pestilence back in your day.
No shit.
But
Just by looking at that thing, it turned an old man blind.
it
You
took a
still
long
kept that
while.
around?
Something with that kind of power. You don't turn your nose up at it. It was stored away for years and years and years.
For good reason. Bloody hell, Elliot.
We can take them all out in one blow, Father. Or at the very least, send shockwaves through their entire core. A vast majority of their leadership is gathered on that fucking rock. We set this off there. We get out with the Archmage. We can win this damn war.
I just looked between the two of them for a moment.
You lock eyes with Demetrius, and he actually kind of glances away. Elliot is looking at you with the most seriousness that he can muster.
I know it's what you would have done for me. I don't want my child growing up in a world like this. I know you know how that feels.
Wolfgang just looks down.
Come on.
The best thing you could do for your child is to be there for them. Remember that. All right?
His lip quivers.
I will. Now come on. Eat up like it's your last damn meal.
Wolfgang will nod and begin eating.
As you guys dine your way through the night, consuming delicate roast meats, suckling fingerling potatoes, whatever fruits and vegetation that this desolate land can muster. You drift off in the evening to get ready for tomorrow's march. And here is where we will end tonight's session.